Okay, and then share screen. Okay, so welcome to my workshop on negative self-talk. So what's the agenda today? First of all, we're going to talk about what negative self-talk is, where it comes from, different types of negative self-talk, and how negative self-talk can be affecting you, and what triggers negative self-talk. Then we're going to talk a little bit about me, my own experience with negative self-talk, how it affected me, and how I overcame it. And then we're going to look at what we can do about it. So we're going to look at mindfulness, meditation, and grounding techniques. And we're going to do some mindfulness meditation. Then we're going to talk about neuroplasticity, practicing gratitude, positive thinking. We're going to talk about hypnosis and how hypnosis can help to change our perspective and help us stop negative self-talk. And we're also going to have a short hypnosis session. And then at the end, you can ask me any questions or give me any comments that you wish. So, what is negative self-talk? So, if everyone would like to use the chat box and just tell me what negative self-talk means to you. Low self-esteem, yep. Yep. I think low self-esteem is, I think negative self-talk is a side effect of low self-esteem. It's not actually, you know, what negative self-talk is. And by changing one part of the system, we can change, yeah, that's very true, yeah. But by changing one part of the system, we can change all parts of the system. So by stopping negative self-talk, we can start to increase self-esteem. And yeah, that's the common thought is I'm not good enough. So my definition of negative self-talk is inner dialogue that you have with yourself, and it can limit you. It can limit your ability to believe in yourself. It can stop you reaching your goals or even trying new things. It can keep you stuck. It can insult you, call you names even, cause you to feel anxious, tell you you can't do things because you're useless. It can cause you to be codependent and cause you to be a people pleaser, a doormat, cause you to have a lack of boundaries, and to keep you in abusive relationships. So you could be telling yourself you deserve to be in an abusive relationship, an abusive place, because you can't do any better, or you're useless, or you're not good enough to find anyone else, or to, you know, be independent. And so it can cause all kinds of issues in our lives. So what causes negative self-talk? Where does negative self-talk come from? So everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. I don't give these presentations to knock my own parents or anyone else's parents, but the fact of the matter is that many of us were traumatized by our parents, and parents have their own issues which they project onto their children. And as children, we're blank slates. Our neuroplasticity is at its highest until the age of 7, and that's known as the imprint period. It's when we're learning all the most difficult tasks. We're learning to walk, to talk, to feed ourselves, and in the developmental stages we're forming boundaries. To a baby, everything is part of the baby, and as they grow they start to separate themselves from their environment. If we are subjected to abuse in those early years, we internalize that abuse. So if we're being constantly put down, shouted at, physically abused, we internalize that abuse. We think it means there's something wrong with us, and we internalize the negative parent or caregiver, and we develop an inner critic, a toxic inner voice that attacks us. And you don't need to grow up in an environment with, really abusive parents. Just growing up in an environment where there's a lot of arguing can cause a child to feel pushed out and unwanted. They're going to think that the parents are arguing about them, and this is going to cause them to develop a negative self-image. So there's different kinds of negative self-talk and different kinds of inner critic attacks. So one such attack is perfectionism. And if you try to be perfect, you'll never be good enough. So perfectionism is not a positive trait to have. And all or nothing thinking, so such as thinking I'll never be loved, I'll always fail, I can never do anything right. These are all examples of all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. And anything, if you're thinking anything like that, it's not coming from you. It's not your fault. It's something you've internalized. So if you're thinking same as should, if you're thinking I should do something, that's something that you've internalized. It's not coming from you. It's something that you've picked up. And pessimism, always worrying about the worst case scenario, worrying what could go wrong. And if you focus on what could go wrong, you're going to run into it, as I'll come to shortly. Comparing yourself to others is another common form of negative self-talk. So, thinking most people my age are happily married, they own their own house, they've got kids, they've got a nice car. And when we do this, we're not being fair to ourselves, because we're only seeing what people are sharing publicly. We don't know what's going on in their lives. We don't know if they're happy. And I compare it to a car. So I've always had issues with cars. And whenever I try and sell a car, I run into problems, because I know everything that's wrong with that car. I know if it's got rattles, if it's got squeaks, I know everything that's wrong with that car. And so I struggle to sell my cars privately. And it's the same when we're comparing ourselves to others. We know everything that's wrong with us. We're only seeing what they're showing us externally. So comparing ourselves to others is not at all healthy or realistic. Coming back to name calling again. Can involve calling yourself names. Can also involve projecting negativity onto others, even gossiping and things like that. And fearing attack. So it's very common if we're used to being attacked, we're going to expect that, you know, people are out to attack us. So we start projecting our past experiences onto others and thinking, you know, everyone's out to harm us, the world's not a safe place. So how does negative talk affect you? If you'd like to use the chat box and tell me how negative self-talk is affecting you. Okay, and coming to my story. So I am Mark Stubbles. I'm a hypnotherapist, a life coach, a master practitioner of NLP. And yep, reluctant to go out of your comfort zone. That's a common one. And a mindfulness practitioner. And for me, my journey started in 2015. I'd grown up with a lot of issues. I'd internalized a lot of problems. I used to suffer very badly with flashbacks and emotional flashbacks, and I'd snap at people. I'd also disassociate and go off into my own little world, and you know, then I'd snap out of it, and sometimes I'd find people staring at me and I'd wonder if I'd been talking to myself, or you know, what had been going on. So I had all kinds of problems. And then in 2015 something happened, and it was a very strange occurrence, and I started looking for ways to deal with my issues. I decided that things weren't going to get any better unless I changed. They were just going to get more complex and more complicated. So I started to study. First of all, I started looking at philosophy, and I started looking at a lot of Alan Watts videos on YouTube and a lot of philosophy videos. And I started questioning what reality was and how I'd gotten into the situation I'd gotten into. And then I started looking for ways to change. So first of all, I started off meditating. And then I started practicing NLP. I did an NLP course, and then I did a CBT course, cognitive behavioral therapy. And then I started studying hypnotherapy. And in 2019, I was announced the best hypnotherapist in Windsor, Berkshire. And last month, I was able to overcome my fears and actually speak at a summit in front of around, I think, 300 people. So it was a big change for me, a big improvement for me from where I've been, being shy and introverted and avoiding people, to speaking in front of a lot of people. So that's my story. So as I say, the first way I started dealing with these issues was with mindfulness. And if you've seen my mindfulness presentation, you're going to recognize a little bit of this part of this presentation. So mindfulness isn't about any particular kind of experience. And this was important for me because I used to have negative thoughts, and I would, try and resist them. I would react to them. And when we react to thoughts, we're just giving them energy. What resists persists. So the more you try and resist something, the stronger it's going to become. So by practicing mindfulness, I was able to stop labeling my thoughts as good or bad and just observe them. And doing that took away a lot of the charge from them and enabled me to start to get things under control. And it's about accepting, as I say, just accepting things as they are, as opposed to judging or thinking things are good or bad, just experiencing everything without judgment. And then we come to mindlessness. So mindlessness is constantly being controlled by your thoughts, being run by your thoughts. Mindfulness is about being detached, being an observer. And it's about connecting to the present moment. And Lao Tzu said, anxiety is living in the future, depression is living in the past, and peace is living in the present. And when we truly connect to the present, we see that there's nothing that can hurt us or affect us. So what are the benefits of mindfulness? So it enables us to reduce stress, reduce anxiety and depression. It improves our focus and our ability to concentrate. When we can improve our focus, we can start to use that focus to influence reality and create things that we actually want to be achieving. So when we're mindless, we're worried and constantly in our heads, and everything is sidetracking us. But by improving our focus, we can keep that focus on positives and start to create a more positive reality. And it also enabled me to regulate my emotions. As I say, I was quite emotionally dysregulated. My ex-wife actually said I was emotionally abusive because I would just change states and snap and just generally be a dick. So by being mindful, we can also increase our empathy and understanding. We can have better health. We can reduce heart disease. We can actually use mindfulness to help us lower pain and decrease our blood pressure. So it also enables us to cultivate our free will and our ability to act freely. And in the Zen tradition, this is a big thing, to act instinctively without thinking. And samurais are very big on mindfulness because it enables them to be very quick with their swords. It enables us to be at cause as opposed to at effect. As I say, to improving that focus enables us to create the reality that we want to create. And it enables us to improve our awareness. If you don't use it, you lose it. And many people are constantly being sidetracked by Facebook and social media and things like that. And that's, yes, and that can cause us to, the more we allow ourselves to be distracted, the more we're going to, the weaker our focus is going to become, and the more easily we're going to be distracted. So by practicing mindfulness, we can cultivate that awareness and, you know, stop ourselves being distracted as easily. And it's about giving up control. So there's many things that we just can't control. And by practicing mindfulness, we can realize that and stop giving up, stop trying to control things we can't control. And again, focus our attention on the things we can control, which is generally our reactions. And Viktor Frankl was a German psychiatrist and a prisoner of war in Auschwitz, and he said that, well, he said many things. I mean, people said to him, how did you cope, you know, in the concentration camps? And one of the things he said was that, you know, we all have our own concentration camps in our minds. And another piece of advice he gave was that, you know, they could take everything away from him and force, you know, control every part of his life, and he couldn't control any of that, but he could control how he reacted to it. And by realizing that and keeping that in mind, he was able to stay sane. So when we give up control, we become less attached to outcomes. And we can use mindfulness to notice and change unwanted habits and behaviors. So many habits, for example, I used to bite my nails, but once I started meditating, I stopped biting my nails because I became more aware of that habit and I was able to stop myself doing it. I also became less anxious, which obviously helped. So what are the different styles of meditation? So mindfulness isn't about relaxation or achieving a state of trance. Mindfulness is about connecting to the present moment and by observing thoughts and sensations without judgment. By doing this, we can realize that we're not our thoughts. So one style of meditation is sitting meditation. And that's not, people think that sitting meditation is about trying to stop thought and empty their mind, and it's actually not about that. It's about observing the thoughts, and if we do that long enough, the thoughts just stop. So if you'd all like to try some sitting meditation now, it's important to sit with your back straight, because if you're sitting for a long period of time, you don't want to be overly comfortable or you'll fall asleep. So it's about sitting with your back straight. You can sit cross-legged or, you know, in a chair, and you want to put your hands either on your knees, or you can put your finger inside the finger and thumb of the opposite hand and place them in your lap. And then you just allow your eyes to close and focus on the breath. And as you breathe in, you want to be breathing in to your stomach all the way down to your belly. This is known as diaphragmatic breathing, and it enables us to relax. If you've ever seen someone sleeping, you know, they're always breathing in to their stomach. And it's said that until the age of 7, children diaphragmatically breathe naturally, but something happens when they start school and we lose the ability to do that. So breathing down into your stomach, you just notice your stomach rising as your lungs fill with air, and you'd say to yourself, rising, and then breathing out, you'd notice the air coming back up out of your lungs, flowing out of your nose. You'd say to yourself, falling. And if any thoughts were to come into your head, you would just label them as thinking. You wouldn't label them as good or bad. Just label them as thinking. Just breathing in, rising, breathing out, falling. And then if you get any kind of sensations like an itch or anything like that, you want to try and just observe that itch. And when we observe something, it generally subsides. And again, this can also be used for reducing pain. So just by observing, you know, discomfort, it generally tends to reduce. It's actually, on the topic of pain, one of the findings of pain is that it is about 80% emotional. And they actually did a study where they got 2 groups of people, and they said to one group of people, we're going to give you an electric shock. And so they gave them an electric shock. And they asked them to rate the pain after that, and they said, you know, it wasn't too bad. But the other group of people, they said, we may or may not give you an electric shock. And they then gave that group an electric shock, and they found the pain to be much worse. So the anticipation is generally a lot worse than the actual occurrence. So by being mindful, you know, we can start to reduce that anticipation and reduce the suffering. Again, it is, you know, mindful philosophy is that there is suffering. You're never going to escape suffering. Everyone suffers. Even the Queen suffers to some degree. And then we come to walking meditation. So walking meditation is said to be one of the earliest forms of meditation. And monks used to walk from one town to another looking for a master to show them enlightenment. And so as they did that, they would notice themselves placing one foot in front of the other, and they pay attention to any sounds around them and any sensations they felt as they were walking along. Again, without judgment. And then we come to a body scan meditation. And the body scan meditation is about noticing all parts of the body and breathing into those parts of the body and releasing tension from those parts. So that's mindfulness. So who wants to try a body scan meditation? Let me know in the chat box if you'd like to try. Yes, excellent. Okay, so again, sitting with your back straight. Take a deep breath in and just breathe out, let it go. Excellent. Okay, and allow yourself to smile and allow your eyes to close. Then with your eyes closed, you can once again allow your attention to drift to your breath. Noticing the in-breath and out-breath. See if you can notice any difference between those breaths. Maybe the in-breath is slightly cooler than the out-breath. Maybe the out-breath just allows you to relax just a little bit deeper. And then you can imagine a healing light at the top of your head. Healing, soothing, relaxing white light. Just imagine that light just moving down into your forehead and relaxing all those muscles in your forehead. Maybe you can get a sense of your forehead just smoothing out, letting go. As that relaxation just drifts down into your eyes, down into your cheeks, then the top lip and bottom lip. Just letting go, releasing any tension, any stresses or strains. As that relaxation flows down into the back of your neck, and get a sense of those vertebrae just relaxing, letting go. Then down into the shoulders. Breathing relaxation. First of all, imagine breathing relaxation into the left shoulder and then the right shoulder. The top of the left arm, the left forearm, the left hand thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. And then the palm, the back of the hand. That relaxation flowing back up the arm into the shoulder, across into the right hand shoulder. And then flowing down into the right hand finger, right hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, and then the back of the hand, the palm, the forearm, the top of the arm. Rising back up into the shoulder. And then once again releasing any tension in the right side of the neck, and then the front of the neck, the left side, the back of the neck. Now relaxation flowing down into the chest, the stomach. Once again, notice that stomach rising and falling. Flowing round into the back of the body. Maybe notice how your body's touching down on that surface. Then the relaxation flowing down into the top of the legs, and then the top of the left leg and the left calf and the left ankle, the left foot, the big toe, second toe, third toe and fourth toe. And then flowing back up into the right side and the right side of the leg, and the top of the right leg, the right calf, the right ankle, the right foot, big toe, first toe, second toe, third toe, and then flowing back up. And the knees, imagine the knees relaxing, letting go. Maybe you can get a sense of the tiny muscles and tendons, how they're all connected. Breathing in relaxation. And then when you're ready, you can allow your eyes to open, and I'll continue with the presentation. So you let me know if you like that meditation in the chat box. Excellent, thank you. Okay. Excellent, glad to hear that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the power of your mind. And hypnosis. So, first of all, you can't be someone you don't perceive yourself to be. So if you perceive yourself negatively, that's going to affect your life. And the emotional part of your brain cannot tell the difference between a real or an imagined event. So by using hypnosis, we can visualize ourselves the way we want to be. And this builds new neural pathways in the brain. And we can start to associate ourselves that way. So if we envisage ourselves as being confident and successful, we're going to start to create those new neural pathways, and we're going to become more confident and more successful. Now, this obviously takes time, and it takes a repeated visualization. So what I'd like to do now is a couple of exercises to show you the power of your mind. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to pin my video. So what I'd like you to do is to take your right hand and hold it out in front of you with your palm facing down, and your left hand, and hold your left hand out in front of you with your palm facing up. And then once again, take a deep breath in. And when you breathe out, just close your eyes. And I'd like you to imagine that in your left hand, we've placed some heavy leather-bound books. And to your right hand, we've tied some helium balloons. And your left hand's going to start to lower down as your right hand starts to rise up. Just imagine that happening now. Just imagine it using the power of your mind. Just imagine that taking place. Your right hand's rising up as your left hand's lowering down. And then leaving your hands where they are, open your eyes and notice any difference. So did everyone notice a change there? If you noticed any change there, just use the chat box and let me know. Another thing we can do is take your right hand, place it out in front of you. And without moving your lower torso, just moving your upper body, just turn around and see how far you can go with that right hand, and find a point on the wall where you've been able to rotate round. And then once you've done that, just again take a deep breath in, close your eyes. And now, just using the power of your mind, I'd like you to imagine yourself going round even further. And because it's only in your mind, you can go all the way around if you wish. Just imagine yourself going around even further this time. Then once you've done that, open your eyes and put that right hand out in front of you again. And now doing the exercise again, just twisting round. And just noticing how much further we can go round that time. Did everyone go around further? Just let me know in the chat box. A little, excellent. So that's the power of your mind, and that's the power of being able to envisage things. And, you know, when we have negative self-talk, we're usually envisaging the worst and negative things, but by becoming more positive, we can start to envisage more positive outcomes and happier things occurring. So, who wants to try some hypnosis? Okay, so we're just going to do a quick hypnosis demonstration. So, again, I'd just like you to take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, just allow your eyes to close once more. Just allow yourself to go back to that place of relaxation. Just getting in touch with your powerful non-conscious mind. And just thinking about that negative self-talk. And maybe you can imagine what your life would be like if you were just a little bit more positive, if you just had a little bit more confidence, a little bit more self-esteem. What would that allow you to do? What would you do if anything was possible? Just give that some consideration. And I'd like you to imagine yourself standing safely and securely at the top of a staircase. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. As I count, you can imagine yourself going down that staircase. Starting counting now, 10, just taking those first steps. Down to 9. Allowing yourself to become more and more relaxed. More and more at ease. 8 and 7. Drifting deeper and deeper. From 7 down to 6 and then 5. Maybe getting a floating feeling. Drifting. Dreaming. 4 and 3. Down to 2. And as a person starts to notice a state of hypnosis, a state of trance, a state in which positive change can occur, they start to notice the arms and legs becoming loose and limp and heavy. And sometimes the tiny muscles in those arms or legs can twitch just a little. And then from 2 down to 1. And after 1 comes 0. And drifting through the middle of that 0 into a velvety, soft nothingness. To a special place. The place where anything is possible. Into the control room of your mind. For some people, this control room may look like an industrial type of power plant place. For other people, it could look magical in some way. And in that control room, I'm There you can see many levers and dials. I want you to get a sense of yourself reaching out. Being able to touch those dials. Finding the dial for negative self-talk. Imagine yourself being able to turn that dial down, to turn it back. And then finding the lever for positivity and pushing that all the way up to full steam ahead. I wonder if you can find the control for self-esteem and increase that one. Confidence. Just giving those dials a little nudge in the positive direction. And you can be curious as to what you'll notice when those positive changes begin to take effect. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the present, noticing how good you feel. And over the coming days and weeks, you can start to notice things that may let you know that those changes have started to occur. Okay. Gratitude. So, when we're practicing negativity, it's like we're flexing a muscle. We're working that muscle. And we're creating those neural pathways in the brain based around negativity, negative outcomes. So what we need to do is switch our focus, and we need to start working the positivity muscle. And one way we can do that is with gratitude. And there's a theory that humans can only be aware of 7 plus or minus 2 things at any one time. So if you're in a negative mindset and you're focusing on negativity, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And it's a walnut-shaped network of neurons located in the brain stem. And the purpose of the reticular activating system is to help you sort information so you can make decisions quickly. And it does this by filtering out anything that isn't relevant to you. And so your past experiences have programmed your RAS. And they've taught it what to filter and what not to filter. And I was watching a seminar recently, and Tony Robbins gave this example of when you've just sat down to eat your dinner and your wife or partner or someone in your family says, "Can I have some salt?" And you say, "Yeah, go and get it yourself." And then they're like, "Oh, but I'm just got in and I've had a hard day, can you get it for me, please? And you say no. And so they keep on and you say no. And then you say, look, I don't know where it is. I can't get it for you because I don't know where it is. And then they say, well, it's on the second shelf in the cupboard. And so you say, no, it's not there. It's not there. And anyway, they keep on at you. So in the end, you get up and you go and get the salt and you open the cupboard and it's not there. You can't see the salt. You say, it's not there. I told you it's not there. And they say, no, it's definitely there. No, it's not there. And then in the end, you know, they kind of come in and show you and say, look, there's the salt. And this is quite a common experience. Have you ever had an experience like that when you've been looking for something and you just can't find it, and then someone else comes along and they say, look, there it is. It was right in front of your eyes all the time. Who's had that experience? Let me know in the chat box. And so this is what the RAS does. It sorts information and it can delete things that it thinks are irrelevant to us. It can delete things that it thinks we don't want to see. So if you're in the fight or flight response, you develop tunnel vision and your RAS gets programmed very, very quickly. But it can also be programmed by repetitive stimuli over longer periods of time. So one way we can help our RAS to become more positive is to journal. And so we can get a journal like this, like I've got here. You won't be able to see it because I'm screen sharing. But we can get a journal and we can write in that journal every day 10 things that we're grateful for. So we can write, I'm grateful that it's a beautiful day because it means I can go out and enjoy the sunshine. And so by doing this, we can find more positivity and more positive things. And we can also write down things that, you know, we're proud of ourselves for, things that we achieve. Every night we could write down, you know, 5 or 6 things that we've achieved during the day. And by doing that, we start to program our mind to find more things to be positive about ourselves for. One of the things that I get clients to do is to write out 100 things that they've achieved in their lifetime. You know, if I get someone who's coming to me with low self-esteem or depression, I get them to write out everything that they are proud of themselves for, everything that they've achieved, everything that's ever made them happy. And I get them to write out like a ridiculous number of things and show me they've done it at the next session. So by doing that, as I say, we can program our mind and we can start to show our mind that we're actually quite capable and not as bad as we, you know, perceive ourselves to be. So that's gratitude and journaling. So I have a program. I'm launching a new program, and it's going to be an 8-week program. And the purpose of the program is to help people increase their confidence and become happier. And so the program is going to be very focused around inner child healing, because people with low confidence generally, it's been learned in childhood. So there's going to be a strong focus around that. We're going to learn to set boundaries, again, because people who've grown up with issues in childhood have very porous boundaries, and they're generally people pleasers, generally have dysfunctional relationships. And then we're going to look at confidence building techniques. We're going to have accountability. So like I said, I'm going to give you tasks to do, which will involve writing down hundreds of things. We're going to look at reducing anxiety, stopping negative self-talk, and I'm going to be looking at having 8 people on the program. And the reason for the program is because I generally have, I offer free therapy sessions, and people generally say to me that they, really like the free therapy sessions and they want to work with me. By the way, there's no obligation to the free therapy sessions. So people generally say they want to work with me, but they can't afford to. So I come up with this program as a cost-effective way to be able to help people without them having to pay out a lot of money for my time individually.